Yeah, so it's a Friday Q&A. So I'm open to hearing your questions and talking about what you want to talk about. I definitely want to talk about guns and what can we do? Oh, we have more kids shot. What can we possibly do? Man, I'm so sick of you people who say that. I am absolutely sick of it. The command of the Bible is not to ban abortion. It's not to stand up for the Constitution of the United States. It's not to demand Second Amendment rights, which were taken away today taken away by those who saw President Trump speak in Houston at the NRA. Was that today? You're not allowed to take your gun in to see Trump speak. They're taking away Second Amendment rights at Trump's NRA speech. Why does Donald Trump not care about your Second Amendment rights? Or even worse, why are Trumpists and Trumpites and right-wing Christians not screaming about the NRA and Donald Trump taking away their Second Amendment rights? The hypocrisy of right-wing Christianity so parallels the hypocrisy of the religion in the first century that Jesus called out and said, your cup's dirty on the inside, but clean presenting on the outside. It is the perfect summation of right-wing Christianity, and I'm so done with it. You have no arguments. Boy, the memes that have hit me as so powerful are the ones that say, we honor the sacrifice of our children who have died for our Second Amendment rights. Let's just keep throwing our children in front of anything that would try to take away any part of saying, like, nobody in the world is saying get rid of Second Amendment rights. We're saying if we can decide together that our neighbors don't get to have atomic bombs or a huge cache of anti-aircraft surface-to-air missiles or a huge cache of tanks and bombs, then can we not discuss the line of human killing weapons? But instead, we just keep sacrificing our children and declare ourselves righteous because we vote for horrible people who are anti-abortion extremists. You're not Christian. You're not Christ-like. So anyway, I'm open to whatever questions you guys have, what you want to discuss. I see Deborah's comments there on YouTube, and I am heartbroken with you, Deborah. I had a discussion that made me want to poke my eyeballs out with somebody who claimed not to be right-wing or Christian today, and he's just like, gun laws don't work. And he kept coming up with specious reasoning and things. We just need more security at schools. Well, we had security at Uvalde. It didn't help. Well, we need more security. Well, they have security. They have locked doors. My kids, when they were at public school, had to go to an armed prison camp to go to school. They're still not safe. And eventually, and I'm like, we have data from all over the world that shows that limiting human killing weapons limits human killing with human killing weapons. And he's like, well, that data doesn't matter from all over the world because we have a unique problem in the United States. And I said, yes, now we agree on something. We have a unique problem. And the unique problem is we have a group of people who would rather have kids die than give up their human killing weapons, thinking they're doing something fruitful for freedom when instead they're just being the most deceived, foolish, fucking assholes in the world. Guns aren't human killing weapons. They are human defense weapons. There's not a single stat in the world that agrees with that statement. Ricky is conservative. You don't have one fucking piece of data that agrees with you in that. Let me tell you the truth about a gun in your house. You have a gun in your house, you are 50% more likely to die by a gunshot, and most likely by somebody that you know. You have a gun in your house, you're 3 times more likely to die by suicide with a gun. The United States has by far the most guns in the world. Yet we have by far the most gun deaths in the world. We have more gun deaths than the next 10 largest developed countries combined. We now have more people die of gun deaths than car deaths. Show me one piece of data that backs up your fucking moronic statement. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of it. I have had it. You guys are foolish and you're killing people and you don't give a shit and you think of yourself as righteous for saying it. You are idiotic morons being manipulated by right-wing media and right-wing politicians who are being paid to be pro-gun by the NRA. I am so sick of it. No pastor talks like that. Fuck off. You're right. No pastor does, because they are held by some standard of puritanical morality rather than speaking the truth. And I'm going to tell you something. Jesus said, fuck you to the religious people of his day too. An effeminate lunatic. Chip Goldstein sounds like somebody who's hiding a little something in there. So projecting. So, hey, Chip, if you need to come out, man, we are for you. We will stand with you, my brother. Don't be afraid to admit if you have those feelings inside. I am out there because I'm finally telling the truth. I've tempered it all for years. Stats don't lie. You have a gun in your house, you're more likely to die by a gun than somebody who does not have a gun in the house. It's just a fact. And if you're sitting there saying there's nothing we can do, you are ignoring data from all over the world that disagrees with you. And clearly, you're fine with however many gun shootings it takes to protect your right to own a human killing weapon. I'm running for Congress. I'm going to do the complete opposite of what you're saying. Well, everybody, please vote against Thomas B. Griffin, because he's somebody who would rather have children killed in school than follow reasonable data from around the world. So please vote against Thomas B. Griffin. Where are you running, Thomas, so I can really tell people who not to vote for? Let's make sure we get that down, because we find out that the NRA spent $30 million to help Donald Trump get elected in 2016. Chip, they don't have evil people in other countries? We're the only country that has evil people that shoot people? Huh, I wonder why that is. So let's look at that. Why is America the only country that has evil people who shoot people? $30 million is chump change. Right. William Davis says it's very refreshing to have a pastor finally say, go fuck yourself. Yeah. $9.1 billion could put a vet at every school in the US. The thing is, there's no nation in the world that has to do that. Only America. We're the only country apparently that has mental health issues, that has evil people, that doesn't have prayer in schools, all the shit that right-wingers say to obfuscate the fact that we have a gun problem in the United States. The Second Amendment is meant to maintain democracy. No, it's not. It was a completely different world. It's a completely different time. Your little AR-15 is not stopping a government takeover of the country, period. It's a really weak argument. I people to be a right-wing supporter, you have to buy into a dissonance that is so unbelievable and make excuses for gun shooting of people that is beyond I mean, you have to get so hard-hearted and so blinded to reality that it's almost scary. It really does scare me sometimes that Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity can just say any of the most outrageous, idiotic thing, and then I will see it start because I watch them on a regular basis to see what they're saying, and then then I watch to see it start coming through the comments, and then people say, "Well, I never watched Tucker Carlson," and I'm like, "Oh, it's just so amazing that you quote him word for word, and he is by far the most watched cable TV host in America, but nobody watches him. I can never find anybody who ever admits they watch Tucker Carlson, but he is by far the most watched cable news talk show host in America, and he is consistently quoted word for word in my comments. I mean, it's just it is actually scary to me. And some people like are my friends who now will say anything to justify the owning of guns. It doesn't matter how ridiculous, how silly they sound. It's just amazing. Tucker speaks truth. You got a problem, my friend. You have been in the echo chamber so long. You cannot see truth anymore. I mean, it's simple. Australia had well, and that's very true, Julia. Tucker admitted lying for a paycheck, and they went into court and said nobody would trust anything Tucker says. No reasonable person would trust anything that he says. Do you hate yourself? No, I don't hate myself at all. I think I'm great. I'm really happy. Now I'm on my emotional well-being journey, and I'm gonna be sharing some about that because I'm not afraid to be honest as opposed to people like you, Chip, holding in your needs and urges. But no, I'm very happy because I broke away from the shame foisted on me by religious people like you. Oh yeah, Chip is totally projecting. There's no question about it. What do you say to people who believe we are living in the times of revelations? I think we're more living in the times of Jeremiah and Jesus, when both Jeremiah and Jesus were saying a church that believes like this church believes, that has this much influence on a nation. And when that church influences a nation to no longer care about the poor, the marginalized, the foreigner, and the widow, that nation comes to end and ruin, and that religion will no longer have one stone standing on the other. I believe those are the times that we're standing in. Revelation is allegorical story of the history of the world, not necessarily a story about the end of the world. Matthew 24 is a chapter written about the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. It already happened. Most of the end time stuff we quote from the Bible has already happened. So Wayne says, I have to go, but thanks for speaking out. Thank you, Wayne. I love my guns because I'm mature and make good decisions. Yeah, you sound like it, Chip. You certainly have comported yourself well today. How do you deal with a super conservative family? I've had to build boundaries, and in some places, um, end relationship. Just I've had to tell family, here are the boundaries around what we're going to talk about and how you get to address these topics with me. And I'm more than happy to do that. But if you can't live with that, then there's no law that says we have to be in relationship. Even Jesus turned and saw the Virgin Mary and said, that's not my family. My family are the people here who are walking with me. So it's okay. You don't have to hold to a family that won't respect who you are or respect your boundaries. Nothing wrong with guns. It is the heart that is evil. As a pastor, you should know this from the professional American. There's not a single piece of scientific data that agrees with you. professional American. That is simply a right-wing media mantra. And as a human being, you should know this. As a thinking person, you should know this. The only way you wouldn't know it is if you were so deep in the echo chamber of right-wing media, you cannot think for yourself anymore. But there's not a single piece of data that backs up the idea that somehow America just has uniquely evil people who shoot people with guns. And the fact that we have more guns than the next 10 largest developed nations in the world has nothing to do with the fact that we have more gun deaths than the next 10 nations, developed nations that are in the world. So the professional American, really cute statement, not a single piece of data that backs you up. And it shows that you're not thinking, you're indoctrinated and inculcated. Curious why Christians are so pro-gun. I can't think of any biblical support for it. There is no biblical support for it whatsoever. In fact, the Bible says very much the opposite. And why are Christians so pro-gun? Because they have been manipulated by the abortion issue to back right-wing media and right-wing politicians. And so now they're so deep in the echo chamber, they can be told anything and will believe it. And so they have been groomed to believe that whatever they're told by right-wing media is mantra from God. And they're being told the only thing that keeps America free is you having a little pea shooter gun in your house. And they believe it, even though logically it's not true. No data backs up the fact that it's true. They just believe it because they are told that it's godly to be right-wing. Conservative Christians tend to be more pro-gun. Many progressive Christians are not pro-gun. Destiny Butler says, as someone who left religious community for various reasons, I found you by accident and wanted to say how you are a pleasant surprise. Thank you, Destiny. That's really kind of you to say. I'm really happy that I'm able to encourage you. How can we talk to right-wingers about guns? You cannot. I've tried it and it just can't. They're so blind. Like, see, forensic CPA here, with the Let's Go Brandon, probably a Christian and thinks saying fuck the president is godly. So that's how deep into the inculcation and indoctrination of right-wing religion and right-wing media they are. So having a discussion, we see in the Bible these stories like with Pharaoh and the plagues of Egypt. For the first few plagues, it says Pharaoh hardened his heart. For the next few plagues, it says Pharaoh's heart was hardened. And then in the end, it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So if you are a right-wing Christian, you have made choices to be a hard-hearted right-winger along the way. And the more you make those choices, the more hard-hearted you get to hearing truth. Jesus said it this way, you have the curse of Isaiah 9 on you. You no longer, or the curse of Isaiah 6 on you, I'm sorry. You no longer have eyes to see or ears to hear. He said, if you eat the leaven of the religion of the nationalistic, race-based, law-based religion, you will lose your eyes to see and ears to hear. So right-wing Christians today have been so deeply inculcated in right-wing media, right-wing mantras for so long, they have lost their eyes to see and ears to hear. Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the ongoing renewing of your mind so that you will know what is good and right and the will of God in a season. And so if you're stuck in the aeon, the era of your right-wing echo chamber, and you feel like your righteousness comes from defending a Christian community narrative, a right-wing Christian community narrative, the Bible is clear that you will no longer be able to see or hear truth anymore. So as sad as it is to say, I've been trying to have for years conversations with right-wingers and saying, hey, can we just look at this? Can we look in the mirror? And they have no eyes to see and no ears to hear. They believe God wants them to be Let's Go Brandon kind of people. They've been taught that is godly behavior. And so once you start to believe that it's godly to be a right-wing Christian asshole and to say totally incoherent things and ignore data about guns, then the Bible says, now God starts hardening your heart. You get to go to the conclusion of that belief system. And I believe it's why, if you read and understand and believe the Bible, It's why I think we're in cultural overturn and cultural collapse right now, because if we weren't, there would be a whole bunch of people of Israel that God would have to apologize to from the books of Judges and Samuels and Chronicles. This is a repeating human history when religion becomes hard-hearted to the poor, the marginalized, the foreigner, and the widow. Cultures collapse. And I believe that's what we're seeing happen in America. And so when somebody says a gun makes you safer, when the data is clear, having a gun in the house makes it more likely that you're going to die by a gun. And when you argue that the gun is saving me from the government, when the government has weaponry that could blow your little gun right off the face of the earth, you are making irrational arguments because you irrationally have a need to defend your belief system, because their identity has been so it also comes to identity. The identity is inculcated in you as a right-wing Christian that you are dirt, a sinner, a depraved human being of nothing good of the flesh. And so your righteousness and your ability to feel okay about yourself comes from your inclusion in your religious community. And so you have to defend that religious narrative at all costs, even when something inside of you is telling you, as it did me for years, like, something's not right here, but I need this community to feel validated. And so you ignore the dissonance of your belief system so that you can continue to be a part of the only thing that gives you value, which is being a part of the community, because you've been taught there is no singular value inside of you. And so you defend the narrative, even though you know full well that you're being completely dissonant to be in that belief system. Do you believe this is just a Christian problem, asked Destiny, or perhaps a problem throughout the tree Christianity belongs to? I don't know. Tell me more about that, Destiny. It sounds like an interesting theory. Now, I believe you don't have to just be a right-wing Christian in America to be under the influence of right-wing Christianity, because it is a permeating principality. It is a mindset over our nation, even for people who don't go to church every Sunday. Julia on TikTok says the people with guns never go try to help somebody else, the poor, the widow, the orphan, or the foreigner. I don't get it. Kathy says, I left my church because the pastor was going to vote for Trump a second time and wouldn't tell me what he saw in Trump that I didn't. He replied that he would just have to agree to disagree. I said that wasn't an answer, and I told him find someone else to do my jobs. I wouldn't be returning. I totally applaud that, Kathy. I can do nothing but tell Christians now, run from that right-wing church. There are good churches, and I will agree, but there is a principality and mindset in America that draws people who attend a building 4 Sundays a month to some incredibly bad norm that I recommend nobody be under. What was that Romans verse? Romans 12:2. It says, don't be conformed to this age. Now, in many churches, it will tell you, don't be conformed to that terrible world out there. But that's not what the verse says. It says, don't be conformed to this aeon, to this era that you're in. Don't be conformed to your echo chamber or your community narrative, but be transformed, which means be completely changed. Don't let anything stay the same. Be transformed by the ongoing renewing of your mind. Now, your translation will only say renewing, but the Greek verb tense there is an ongoing renewal of your mind. And it says, and if you don't do that, you won't know what is good and right and the will of God in a season. Deborah says, I agree with you, Paul. Cultural collapse over on YouTube. How do I talk to a fellow Christian who has fully bought into all the evangelical rhetoric? Thank you for the gift, Stallbombs. I honestly, and I'm really sorry about this, I have very little advice to give you on that, because as you can see through the commenters we have come on my page on a regular basis, people who are deeply ingrained in the right wing and the right wing church, who are constant Fox News or OANN watchers, are just not open to hear thinking and thought anymore. People are the problem, not gun. Don't trust science. Classic. Where do you get that? What data do you base that on? Don't trust science. The United States has more guns than any other country in the world by far. We are the world's gun supplier, not coming over the border illegally from Mexico. No, we're sending guns there illegally. And we have the most gun deaths. Do you think there's any tie whatsoever between the fact that we have by far the most guns and by far the most gun deaths? Is there any chance those two things are related? I don't, I mean, maybe it's crazy to think. I may be totally nuts. But if the country that has the most killing weapons in the hands of citizens has the most killing by those killing weapons by the hands of its citizens, there might be some causation there. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but yeah, what about that? Turkey makes most of our guns. I'm sure Tucker said that. Why do you need to have someone explain, justify what they think or believe? I don't know why. If it weren't for guns, it would be knives, hammers, etc. And a knife can kill people as easily as an AR-15. You can kill just as many people in just as short a time with the knife. I mean, look at the dissonance. Look at how ridiculous a statements you have to make to defend these ideas. I mean, it is absolutely laughable. It is laughable that a guy with a hammer is going to go into a school and kill 19 people. It's not going to happen. You're silly beyond belief. My gun never killed anything I didn't want it to. How many people have you killed with it? Don't trust science. How many times have you saved your home from an invasion with your gun? Because the data, like actual scientific data, and I know you hate data and science because you just don't want to be told anything that doesn't support your narrative. The data is that if you have a gun in your house, you're 50% more likely to be shot by a gun in your lifetime and 3 times more likely to kill yourself with that gun. It is way more likely when you have a gun that you kill yourself with that gun than you kill somebody else. And if you do kill somebody else with that gun, it's the statistical chance is you kill people with people you know. And see, now look, here, let me give you an example of a really silly argument by Chip, who, again, he's struggling with some feelings inside, so let's be gracious. 911 hijackers used a plane, banned planes. So first off, let me tell you how stupid this is, because the 911 hijackers killed 3,000 people and we lost our shit over it. Not only did we ground the planes at the moment, we fought 2 illegal wars across the world for it. So don't sit here and act like we didn't react to 9/11, where only 3,000 people died versus the 455,000 people killed by guns. So don't act like we didn't react to 911, you stupid person. But secondly, what did we do in response to 9/11 and with planes? Oh my God, it is brutally hard to get on a plane now, isn't it? We changed massive amounts of laws. We put in massive new administration around the country. We made it infinitely more difficult to get on a plane, didn't we? Yet you would sit here, try to make this comparison, and then say, nothing we can do about guns. It's just bad people. I mean, come on. Think, just like 10 seconds, take a breath and think. Like, use your brain just for a second. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's, not defending guns, but some people are just twisted and will cause harm no matter what. So why do we have stoplights? Why do we have stoplights? Like, some people are going to run them anyway. Why do we have stop signs? Some people are just going to run them anyway. They're bad people in the world, just going to run anyway. Why is it, Ken, that we have more bad people that want to do harm with guns per capita than the next 10 most wealthy developed countries in the world? We just happen to be really unlucky. That we have a lot of twisted people that want to kill people? Or is there some correlation to the fact that we have infinitely more killing weapons than those countries? The only countries that are more armed than us, and this is old data, so I may be a little bit off on this, but this I like the only countries more armed than us are um, Switzerland and Israel. Now, what's the difference between us and those two countries? A multiple number of things. One, every single male citizen, and in Israel, quite everybody has to do military service, and so they're trained with their weapon at a military level. Every single person in the country. And when you take that weapon home, it is issued to you by the government. They have a list of who has those guns. If that gun is used in a crime, they will know exactly whose gun it is. So think, people, think. Don't just have this visceral reaction of like, our freedoms are being taken away, which, by the way, the NRA and Donald Trump took away the freedom of everybody that attended the NRA convention. You were not allowed to take a gun in. Why was it that Donald Trump feels a threat from having people with guns in a building where he's speaking, but then he wants everybody else in America to be unsafe and not take anybody's guns away? Thinking is good. Thinking is important. Having a thoughtful process and thoughtful conversations really helps in life. Just being inculcated from your church and your media is not good. There are more guns than people in the US. I've heard that. I haven't verified that statistic if it's true. My rights hurt your feelings. What does that mean? Are your feelings not hurt by children shot in a school? It, like, you're just like, oh, kids were shot in a school. Bummer. How could your feelings not be hurt? What type of a fucking animal are you? Certainly not a Christian, if that's your response. You're nothing like Christ. Trump knows people hate him also, but if safety comes from everybody having a gun, they should hand out guns to everybody walking into the event. If your reasoning is more guns mean more safety, then instead of taking people's guns away coming into a Trump event, they should give a gun to everybody walking into the event. Then it's going to be the safest place on earth, right? Some people value their feelings over real proven statistics. I just gave the real proven statistics. Yeah, I fucking use the F word because Christians need to hear it so they can. But what I love is Christians get way more upset about somebody using an F bomb than somebody shooting kids in schools. I wish you cared half as much about people as you care about somebody saying fuck. Societies that don't let their citizens have gun are run by just the government. No, they're not. Have you ever been to Germany? Have you ever been to Britain? Have you ever been to Scotland? Have you ever been to Australia? Have you ever been to any other fucking country in the world? Have you ever read a story about another country in the world? Do you have any fucking idea what you're talking about? God damn it. This is lunacy. Are you saying that Australia is not a democracy? I mean, that is such a dumb statement. I'm gonna have to end this live, guys, because I am just. How can you be that stupid? I'm sorry. I have no other word for it. That is such a dumb statement. You are so manipulated by your media and by your elected officials. Guys, I am sorry. I don't like calling people stupid, but that is singularly an, a mantra of right-wing media that they keep throwing out there, that if we have any discussion about the line of where the Second Amendment should be in protecting rights to own guns, oh, we're going to be a communist nation, when most of the developed nations in the world have much tougher laws on guns than we do, and they are absolutely democracies, 100%. Francie Lucero, do you realize how ignorant your statement is? It is completely, abjectly ignorant. It's the evil, not the gun, despite all data and all evidence. Then why is it that America is singularly filled with evil people? I mean, that's what you have to explain to me. Well, I'm thinking of places like communist. So you're thinking of like two of the developed nations we're talking about on earth and ignoring all the others. You're screaming, yes, let's let children keep being killed because there are communist nations on the planet. It is a singularly dumb statement. I don't know, Chip. Why didn't it happen in the 50s? You tell me, why didn't it happen in the 50s? And then tell me why it doesn't happen in other countries. Tell me why it doesn't happen in other countries. Why didn't it happen in the 50s, Chip? Tell me why, and tell me why it doesn't happen in other countries today. Why does it not happen in other countries today? There have been shootings in America since the 1700s. Chip, why does it not happen in other nations today at even an exponential percentage of the level it happens at in the United States? Chip, I'm waiting. Why did it not happen in the 50s? Why does it not happen in other nations today like it does in the United States? Is that a Shure mic? It is. No, it's not. It's a fairly cheapy, but it's pretty good. I can't remember. Let's see. What is the brand? It is Audio Technica. And yeah, it's a good mic. I like it. I don't know. Does it sound good today? Craig on YouTube says it didn't happen in the 50s because guns weren't so widespread and people didn't have assault type weapons. And I'm waiting for Chip to give his answer, which he can't because he doesn't have one. But the truth is, there's no way the types of shootings we're seeing today happened in the 50s. It just didn't happen. Because the family unit is gone in America. I love it. Yes, that's it. That's it. Because the family unit is gone in America. Oh my God. That is hilarious. Oh, you Christians. Good God. Do you ever listen to your own BS? That is hilarious. Again, we're just uniquely evil in the United States. It's not the guns. It's not the fact that we have way more guns than every other nation in the world and way more gun violence. It's because so the family unit is more intact in Australia than it is in the United States. What's my solution, Francie? The solution is do what other countries have done in the world and cut down school shootings. Let's follow the evidence and the data that we have from all over the world that shows if you have less killing weapons, you will have less killings by killing weapons. It's that simple. How is this so hard to figure out? At least no one has said yet because we kicked Fox out of school. The family unit is, I mean, that is classic. That is the best answer of the day. Oh my gosh. Police in school. Hey, there were armed guards at Uvalde. Armed guards didn't stop it from happening. And if having guns in schools is the answer, then why did Donald Trump not want everybody in his audience at the NRA event to have a gun today? If more guns equals more safety, they ought to hand everybody a gun walking into the room. I didn't use the Lord's name in vain. I said, fuck. And again, I wish Christians cared just the smallest bit about human beings as they care about somebody saying fuck. God, you care about really stupid family unit. from a guy that immediately comes on and says, "You look effeminate." What a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. You're just ignorant. I said, "God damn." Cool. You said you want children to be killed by guns. I don't know. Which do you think is worse? And that's right. A lot of Christians are saying, "Let's go, Brandon." What hypocrites. You guys are, I mean, everybody knows. Nobody's buying the BS anymore, guys. Nobody's buying it. Now you are lying. What am I lying about, professional American, as opposed to the brilliant stuff you've been bringing to the conversation? No armed guards at the school. What? There were no armed guards at Uvalde? That is, unless, I mean, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. My understanding is there was armed security that would not go in because there was shooting going on. And then more came in and they still wouldn't go in. But yes, my understanding is they were absolutely armed guards on site. And the original statement was they exchanged gunfire with the guy before he went into the school. Now, you guys are just making stuff up. Or you've been told by right-wing media this is true and you immediately believe what you said is true. Guys, I'm not playing here. I'm done. I'm done with kids being killed in schools. I'm done with us being the most violent country on earth with gun violence and then saying, "Well, what can we do?" when the evidence is clear. We have the most gun violence of any country in the world because we have the most guns of any country in the world. It's pretty simple. The causation is pretty obvious. Gary says, "Thanks for going live. Important topic. I have to head off." Thanks, Gary. Always good to see you, my friend. Appreciate what you do. Pink Sapphire says we need common sense gun laws. Hey, I was watching your profile today. You came and made a comment on my page, and just I like your stuff. Good stuff. Keep going. Keep going. I hope her name's Pink Sapphire. Go follow her page. Very cool stuff. If there weren't armed guards, I'm wrong. But my understanding, and I do understand the story keeps changing, but my understanding is I understood there were 2 armed guards at the site. But I know that my kids, when going to public school, were walking into an armed camp, like a really tough place to get in and out. We need to stop politicians from being paid off. I agree with that. Our Port Arthur tragedy here in Australia was so impactful that we willingly gave them up. I mean, that's your heart as a country was, we don't want this to happen again. And so we're willing to work to reasonable solutions. That's what Australia did. And they haven't had a similar shooting since. In the United States, a shooting like this happens and we immediately go to, no, we will not give up our guns. We don't have gun violence because we have guns. We have gun violence because we don't have family units like they do in Australia. I mean, it's ludicrous. You absolutely ludicrous arguments. The latest: 2 armed guards, 19 armed cops, border control. He was outside the school for 12 minutes with a gun. Yeah, that thing about, I mean, I kind of hope it's not true, but that Mitt Romney got $13 million from the NRA, and that may have been because he was a presidential candidate. I don't know, but man, and that the NRA spent $30 million to get Donald Trump elected in 2016. The NRA is a really grotesque, evil group of people. And if that's who's inspiring you these days, you really need a heart check. Well, see, now Crusader of Hearts is at least honest. He's like, we won't give up our guns, period. We don't care how many children get killed. We don't care how many school shootings there are. We don't care how many people of color get shot. We don't care about humans, period. We just care about our guns. So at least Crusader of Hearts is honest. He doesn't give a shit about people. If that's where you're coming from, cool. Be honest, own it. You care about guns and not people. All right. I applaud your honesty. I think you're a terrible, horrible human being. And you put your life in danger by having a gun, but hey, at least you're honest to it. So thank you. Australia had gun buybacks, right? The NRA are banning guns during their speeches. Yes, yes. If having more guns make you more safe, then I don't know why they're banning guns when Donald Trump is speaking instead of handing a gun to everybody that walks in. Wouldn't that make it the most safe place on earth with just everybody having a gun? Because that would make all the sense in the world by your reasoning. I feel like the founding fathers would not want anyone to be able to own the guns we have today. I think there's absolutely no doubt about it. I think they would go, wait, you think us writing this when people own muskets applies to the weaponry you guys have now? You're insane. Because they know one bad guy with a gun is all it takes. Yeah. Feeling inadequate by a gun. Jesus said, those that live by the sword die by the sword. We are a uniquely violent nation. Now, where I'll go with my little friend Chip, I do believe even if we got rid of all guns in the United States today, it wouldn't stop some of this violence because we are a uniquely violent generation, particularly in the boomers and Xers, because it's really interesting that white people want to stop history from being taught in our schools around slavery when we're taught on an ongoing basis. The reason our country is great is because we won this war and this war and this war and this war. We fought and killed each other to keep the Union together. We uniquely celebrate our violence, and we continually sow fear that you're violent, that if you don't live violently, even in Christianity, we're taught this onward Christian soldiers, that if we're not violent people, what did Greg Locke say? We will take it by force. It's my best Greg Locke imitation. That if we're not violent people, we won't be free because we are a country born in violence. We took control of our land by violence against indigenous people. We stole land from Mexico by violence. And so we are a uniquely violent people, and taught continually with our history in our schools that our violence is what makes us great. And when we stop being a violent people, making sure that we're bombing other countries so that we can have cheap gasoline in America, when we stop trying to make sure that all the countries of the world that disagree with us, we remove their leadership so that we're safer, who cares about all the rest of the guys? Yeah, I don't think it's unusual for a young man to think, well, then violence must be the answer. And so why don't I go to Buffalo and take out those people who are going to replace my race? Because that's what I'm being told by my media and my elected officials. James on YouTube says, how do you answer retort arguments for politicians who are taking guns out of hands of people? They don't need guns to defend themselves, but they are defended by armed guards. So I would say, James, the evidence is clear that having a gun in your house does not defend you. It's very, very rare in America where somebody with a gun in their home actually stops an intruder from coming. But when you're somebody that has is a celebrity in a reasonable position where somebody would try to kill you, and you pay trained guards to have the specific duty of protecting a house from a particular and real threat. Those guards are not a threat to people around them. Those guards are not going to kill people inside the house. They're trained to stop an intruder from coming into the house, and there is a credible threat of that happening. If you're President Obama, there is a credible threat that some nutball is going to want to try to kill you. So you pay trained people for the specific purpose of keeping those people out. Having a gun in your house is scientifically data proven that it's more likely you kill somebody you know, kill yourself, or something like that happens rather than you stop an armed intruder. They're not even close to the same thing. And again, just let me go back to the stats. And I researched this a lot this week to make sure that I hadn't missed it. I read everything, and there are studies out there that say, well, there are other countries that have gun violence at the same level per capita as the United States, but the most credible evidence I can find is clear that the data says you're more likely, if you have a gun in your house, to be shot by a gun, much more likely, and way more likely to kill yourself with a gun than if you don't have a gun in the house. And again, if the argument was more guns make a space more safe, then instead of the NRA banning guns around Donald Trump, they should give everybody a gun. Dumbest argument I've ever heard. Because you are uniquely blind to anything logical and have been blinded by your religion and your media to hearing logical arguments. NRA wanted to at least protect one child. That's funny. I mean, I'm just so struck by the memes that say, we honor our children who gave their lives to protect the professional Americans' love of guns. I mean, right wingers, just admit it. You just don't care about people. You think people are expendable for some sense of security, that you think your cap gun Glock is going to stop the government from coming in. I mean, it's silly at its core, but hey, when your mantra's beaten into you from your church, from your media on an ongoing basis, you'll believe anything. You get groomed to believe anything you're told. And I am uniquely saddened by it today. Ken says your points are thoughtful and well-versed. Can't agree 100% with everything, but I like it. I don't demand people agree with me 100%. I just demand thoughtfulness. So thank you for that statement. You shouldn't agree with me 100% because I don't always know everything I'm talking about. You are an enemy of God. Because God is a gun-toting Second Amendment God. God loves guns. Yes, he does. It's proven in the Bible. Well, it's not in the Bible, but I've twisted enough scripture to make it in the Bible. So you are an enemy of God. Yes, you are. I mean, Christians have just become cartoons. It's amazing. Just nobody's listening to you guys anymore because you're just so full of shit. Yeah, I have read the Constitution. That's your problem, because the Constitution doesn't say You get to have any kind of weapon at your house you want. It says a well-regulated militia. And the Constitution doesn't say your neighbor gets to have an atomic bomb in their house. And if you're fine with your neighbor having an atomic bomb in their house, I would like to meet you because you are a singularly fucked up human being. The Constitution doesn't even have to be changed. We already ban some types of weaponry in the United States with the Second Amendment intact. That's, that they're going to take away and make us communists, like the one woman was saying earlier, is the scare tactic used by the right to keep these people in line and saying stupid things like they say. We don't have to change the Second Amendment. We just have discussions about what weaponry should be had and what shouldn't have. And we look at data from around the world of what has worked to stop our children from being shot in schools and people of color being shot in malls. And I personally believe there's no reason to have human killing weapons in the hands of our citizens and then wonder why we have way more people killed by human killing weapons by our citizens and say, well, it can't be the guns. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the guns. There's no question it is the guns. Have you ever been to San Antonio? I haven't been to San Antonio. I've wanted to go. I just never got down there. I worked for a while in El Paso, Texas. And I got to go to Dallas. I got to go to Austin, which is a super, super cool town. Didn't get to San Antonio. I would love to sometimes. You have no real solution. No, I've laid out the solution. If you have more gun violence from human killing weapons than any other country in the world, then you try to not have more killing weapons than any other country in the world. It's a really simple solution. Abolish the Second Amendment. I don't think you even have to do that. I was at Vatech for the shooting. We had armed guards. Some teachers were armed even then. Let me tell you, by the way, Ken Paxton, that total moron, is saying we need to arm teachers. Yes, that's the solution. Larry, the science teacher with a Glock in his fanny pack. That's going to make me feel safe for children in school. All right, here we go. Stuart White says, hi, Paul. Satan is the father of lies, and I see you're out and going about your father's business. Who are you trying to bamboozle today with your salty and oh so edgy self-righteousness? I don't know, Stuart. Who am I trying to bamboozle? Because, yeah, facts and data are clearly Satan's language. Oh, brother. And we wonder why the church is shrinking at an all-time record rate in the history of the United States. All you have to do is listen to the Stuart Whites of the world. My goodness, those people out there are just so terrible. My goodness. Oh, goodness, golly gee, you would never hear me say that F word because I'm Christian. Oh, kids getting shot? No, I don't care about that. I don't care about kids getting shot. I care about people saying, God damn it. A dim teacher propped the door open for the shooter. Where did you get that information? That's one that I'm going to have to find out more about. Are you a pastor or just a foul-mouthed political activist? Why does there have to be a difference between the two, Stuart? Martin Luther King Jr. was a pastor and a political activist. And the only reason he wasn't foul-mouthed is because he was in a different era. But he would look at you and say, right, father of lies. Yeah. She didn't prop it open for the shooter. Apparently, a teacher went in to get her cell phone and left it open. It's called vernacular of the time. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to go, guys. It's been a lively conversation, and Christians, you are impressive in your ability to live in dissonance. It's beyond belief. You are incredibly manipulated, embarrassingly silly in your comments, and anti-Christ in your heart posture. Hmm. So, Stuart, you think what Martin Luther King Jr. did to help people of color in the country, that God hated him for doing that? Is that what you think, Stewie? We're only here to spread the gospel, by gumba. We don't care if there's justice. We don't care if kids get shot. We just want to get people into our religion and get saved. So we get more tithes and we build bigger buildings and we get more tax-free stuff. Who cares if children get shot? Pastors shouldn't care about silly stuff like children being shot in a school. Shouldn't care about silly stuff like democracy being overturned by a really horrible ex-president. You should only care about the gospel and getting people to say the magic prayer and sign up for the membership rolls. Ah. Read the Bible, for God's sakes. Like, I just wish Christians would read the Bible. A pastor shouldn't judge other people either. Oh my goodness. Do you ever read the Bible? Was Jesus being judgmental when he said, you know what you are? You're a cup, dirty on the inside, clean on the outside. You're a whitewashed tomb. When he said, do you know who your dad is? Your dad is Satan. Boy, Jesus was judgmental. What a judgmental little man he was. Christians, do you ever read the Bible? Or do you ever read it without your evangelical right-wing goggles on? Jesus said, you'll know people by their fruit. I wish it was a single malt scotch, but I'm not really a scotch fan, so I guess I don't. But just to freak out Christians like Stewie, who say we just should get people saved and not care about kids getting shot in schools. Why would a pastor care about that? Destiny says, he is a pastor, LMAO. What lies? Guns and kids being killed. Holy foul-mouthed language, sinful and ungodly. We don't care about kids being shot in school. We only care if somebody uses the GD word. Read your Bible. Just like once or twice, like actually open it up and read it and then go, I wonder why I don't understand. Paul, your tactics are next level genius. Well, I don't know about that. I am no genius, that's for sure. Stuart says, when did I say we shouldn't care about kids being shot? Let me go back and read your exact quote, Stuart, to you. Because a pastor is responsible to spread the gospel. What do you think? And what did you say before that? Are you a pastor or just a foul-mouthed political activist? Stuart. Hi, Paul. Satan is the father of lies, and I see you're out and going about your father's business. Who are you trying to bamboozle today with your salty and oh so edgy self righteousness? That's when you said, Stuart, let's not care about kids being shot. Let's care about this foul mouthed activist. He shouldn't be activist. He should just be trying to win people to Christ, see? He should be like the 60s when we just allowed people to beat their wives in their houses, and back when America was great in the 50s when we just all were drunk and beating our wives, and we said that's their business in their house, you know. If we could just go back to those days when like my friend little Chris earlier was saying, back then, you know, we didn't have shootings. Yeah, all we had was, you know, black people being forced to use other drinking fountains. What was so wrong with that? We shouldn't be about that. We should just be trying to win people to Christ and get them into our churches, because then they'll be racist inside our churches and giving us their money. When did you say we shouldn't care about kids being shot, Stuart? Every fucking comment you've made on this string today. You and the church of which you're a part. Let's just care about people getting saved. Let's not care about those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of verses in the Bible that say the command of God is that you bring justice to the poor, to the fatherless, to the marginalized, to the foreigner and the widow. You live in a religion that does not follow the Bible. You follow a man-made caricature of the Bible with a white American, hostile, militaristic, people of color hating Jesus. Have you seen the pastor that admitted to SA with a 16-year-old? Yes, I have 3 videos now of my comments on it. I almost didn't comment. It made me so angry that people like Stuart White would sit here and come on here and say, you're just a foul-mouthed activist, and not give a shit about a pastor doing that to a 16-year-old. Oh, and I'm sure Stuart would say, well, of course I care about that 16-year-old. I'm just not willing to do anything to change the atmosphere that made it happen, because that would make me uncomfortable, and I don't want to be uncomfortable. I just want to be told I'm a sinner, and then I can just pray and it'll all be okay. Gosh, Willie G's. Oh, I said geez, sorry. That's a form of Jesus, and it's bad. It's unfucking believable, guys. If I looked stressed out by it all, I am at the end of my rope with these types of Christians. And it is the atmosphere of Western Christianity. Golly gee whiz, let's just get people saved. Wouldn't God be happy with us? He doesn't care about school shootings. Stewart says, drinking fountains, domestic violence, good old days, pathetic attempt to pivot away from your gaslighting. Come on, Paul, try harder. Oh my gosh. That's a classic right there. I'm really trying to think where you would even try to apply the term gaslighting on this. I mean, are you saying like when you were sharing all that data about how we have more gun deaths and more guns, that's really gaslighting. Using data and scientific facts is gaslighting. I don't think you know the meaning of that word. I don't need another cartoon version. This is you, Stewie, right here. This is you. I am a gosh darn good Christian. Oh, sorry, I said gosh darn. I didn't mean to speak so when there are second-class citizens, otherwise known as women, in the room. Stuart, let me, I'll talk slower so you can follow along. I don't need another cartoon voice. I've got you pegged with my cartoon voice already. I hope I said that slow enough for you to understand. I get that it's difficult for you to stay on the uptake. Destiny says, "Our pastors not supposed to be community leaders. They're supposed to be examples of good, which means calling out the rot within the communities, fighting and helping those very innocents, those cowards allowed to die, standing up to people for people. LMAO, I'm with you on the stress out and tired of these people. PS, Jesus wasn't white." Wait, Destiny, don't tell Stuart that Jesus wasn't white. That's really going to hurt him. He's really going to be upset about that. Stormy says, perfect example of taking new words they see people say about them and bastardizing it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Stuart doesn't actually understand the term gaslighting. 10-second prayer and he good. That's exactly right. That's what modern Christianity is. I can be the biggest fucking asshole in the world. And then I just go, Jesus, please forgive me. And it's all good. Stuart says, hey, Bible expert, didn't Jesus command that we make disciples? Yeah, I have 114 followers on TikTok. I'd say I'm doing okay. Thank you. I'm not sure you understand what the word disciple means either, do you? How does it really matter what color Jesus was? It matters a lot because the westernizing and whitening and Europeanizing of Jesus is what has empowered Christians to be in favor of colonization all over the world, and particularly in the United States. And JD Walton says, just made a disciple out of me. Thank you, JD. Ken Floyd says, in all caps, hello, Pastor Paul. Oh, Stuart, there was a different voice. There you go, buddy. I hope you're happy. Ear T something says, I don't believe in God, but if he's real, I'm seeing more than half of these so-called Christians. Yeah. It matters. Jewish people are pro-choice. Yeah. Yes, they are. The foundation of our religion is a pro-choice religion. the Pharisees had way more followers than your TikTok drones. Could be, Stuart. Could be. Maybe someday. But all I can do is take care of the people I can take care of. And I was a senior pastor of a church for 10 years, shared message after message, and the hearts were so thick and hard. It was very hard to see any change. Now, every single day, I get to work with somebody who's open to hear truth and not just be indoctrinated into right-wing Christianity. And it's amazing. So amazing. Never been happier with the work that I do. And I even enjoy making fun of silly Christians who. Sean says, I loved your messages back in the day. Thank you. Texas Ranchera says, I appreciate you. Thank you. Love all your content. Look, Stuart, I have 3 disciples today. Hi, Ken. Oh, Ken, talk to me on Messenger. Yeah, that's right. Cool. I'm glad. So that's another disciple. Look at me. I 4 disciples today, Stuart. I am following the commands of Jesus. How many disciples have you made today, Stewie? Well, my gosh, I tried to criticize you on TikTok. That's me doing the work of God, isn't it? No, count me in. Paul 5 now. All right, cool. We're building up the followers. Do you still work or see people from the church you were pastor of, and what do they think of you? Many of them very much do not like me now. Some won't even talk to me at all anymore. It's been truly a painful process. Hi, Berlin. Good to see you, my friend. I'm doing okay. This has actually been a respite and helpful because I've been so angry at Christians, so angry. And so it's been helpful to get it out. Sorry, guys, my battery's about to run out on my phone, so I may have to end it here soon. Stuart says the foundation of our religion is pro-choice. Oh, and dupes aren't disciples. So again, Stuart, this goes back to Christians that do not understand the Bible. So what religion is the foundation of Christianity? Stuart, I'll wait for a second for you to think about it. What religion was the foundational religion from which Christianity was born? Na 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 wah 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 boom boom. Too late, Stuart. You haven't answered. Sad. But Julia gets it at the buzzer. She says Judaism, and she is correct. Judaism is the religion that is the foundational belief of Christianity. We call it the Old Testament, and we bastardize it to meet our religion. But the truth is, the Old Testament speaks to Judaism, and Judaism is profoundly and has always been pro-choice. Judaism believes either that life begins at first breath, that's when a soul enters the body, or they believe, even some, that it doesn't enter the body until the body is proven viable. Therefore, life begins at conception is a total lie and goes absolutely against the foundational beliefs of the Christian religion. How about that, Stuart? I bet you've never heard that before. One time in your life from your Southern speaking pastor who's always like this saying, God believe. God says in the Bible in 1st, 2nd, 3rd Judeans that life begins at conception. But it does not actually say that in the New Testament, the Old Testament, or anywhere else. It says in Exodus 21 that the life of the mother is worth more than the life of the fetus. And it says in the Talmud that it is okay for a mother to end a pregnancy if she is in distress. And distress, yes, let's hear what he has to say. Distress includes financial distress. That's right, Charlie. Tell him what he's won. If you cannot afford to have the child, you are allowed by God to end the pregnancy because the Bible and Judaism does not believe the fetus has a soul. And why do Christians believe that it does? Because Jerry Falwell told them so, because he was upset that his school was being forced to take black people in it. And Bob Jones University was very upset that they were being forced to overturn their law that outlawed interracial dating. And Bob Jones and Jerry Falwell were so upset, Charlie, that they decided to manipulate Christians like Stuart with the idea of abortion and life beginning at conception. And they did it. Why? Because they wanted to get a Christian president named Jimmy Carter voted out of office so they could take Ronald Reagan, a man who had signed the most liberal abortion law in the history of the United States, as governor of California. And he suddenly overnight became anti-abortion and a Christian so that he could manipulate Christian voters like Stuart to vote against an actual Christian president named Jimmy Carter, who was actually a Sunday school teacher, a born-again evangelical, but he was hated because he loved black people. And Jerry Falwell couldn't have a president in there that loved people of color. And so he had to manipulate people like Stuart with the idea of life begins at conception, so they would be manipulated in voting for a nut job like Donald Trump one day. And their plan worked to perfection, because now Stuart White will vote anyway that the Republicans in right-wing television and telemedia tell him to vote. Isn't it amazing that Jerry Falwell and a right-wing political operative named Paul Weyrich have fully manipulated people like Stuart White beyond their wildest imaginations? Tell us what we've won. Well, we've won a country where Christians will support a man trying to overthrow democracy and saying they're doing it for God. Wait, did I say all that out loud? Yes, I love it. Let's go, Stuart. Jeremiah 1:15. Let's read it together, everybody. Does Jeremiah 1 say that life begins at conception? Let's read it together, shall we, and see what it says, because this is one of those things that, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in this voice now. This is one of those things that Christians say and they believe it proves something when they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Isn't it wonderful? Let's read what it says. Oh, I love it when we read the Bible and we start talking about it. And first, Stuart says it's Jeremiah 1:15, which it's not. It's Jeremiah 1:5. So clearly he doesn't know his Bible to begin with. But let's get a read what Jeremiah 1:5 says, because that's what a lot of Christians use to try to prove their theory of life beginning at conception. It says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to all nations. And here's the problem with Stuart's theory, that this overturns thousands of years of Jewish tradition to become what Paul Weyrich, the Republican operative, says Stuart should believe. Here's the problem. You want me to tell you the problem? Should I tell you the problem? Do you want to know the problem with Stuart's belief in this verse? Let's tell Stuart the problem. I'm sorry. Where did I go? What happened here? Let's see. What is the first word of that verse? Can we all say it together? The first word of the verse is before. It doesn't say, when I formed you in the womb, when life began at conception, does it? It says, before I formed you in the womb. Holy shit. What if Christians ever actually read the Bible? What would we find? That God is in this poem. In this poem, it says, before I formed you in the womb. Before I formed you in the womb. We should follow the Bible, shouldn't we, Stuart? It says, before I formed you in the womb. You fucking moron. It says, before I formed you in the womb. That means it's a poem. It's a poem about the fact that God knew everybody at creation. It says nothing about life beginning at conception. You've been duped. You've been duped by a political operative and two racist pastors. That has to hurt. I know it does. And I'm sorry. Psalm 139 doesn't say life begins at conception. Luke 1 does not say life begins at conception. And Jewish law has never once said life begins at conception. You've been duped by political operatives and right-wing politicians who want to manipulate you for voting for things like free guns to kill every child in America. And Stuart, what I do is because I'm sick of people like you who, I believe you probably have a good heart in there somewhere, thinking you're doing something good. And you've been manipulated to a belief that is anti-Christ. And I don't want to see more people in bondage to a political religion as you are. So Stuart says, how did God consecrate a life he hadn't made alive yet? Wow, Stuart, you must not believe God's omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. So your God is like small and contained in the physiology of humanity. Someday I hope you'll actually believe the bullshit of evangelicalism that God is above and beyond everything we can imagine. But your God is clearly contained by the physiology of life. And Jewish tradition trumps the word of God. I just told you the word of God. Exodus 21 says that if a woman gets injured in a fight and she loses the baby, the injurer pays a fine. If she dies, the injurer pays with life, because the Bible is clear and Jewish tradition continues to enunciate it, that the mother's life is more valuable than the life of the fetus. Yeah, Stuart, I am an expert on Antichrist because I lived in a home with an Antichrist evangelical pastor for 50 years. Your religion is not Christian. Your religion is probably more Paulian, but now it's more Reagonian, but not Christian. And I'm sorry you've been duped. And I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you. But you're 100% wrong. You're going in absolutely the opposite direction of what Jesus would have you go. And I assume you've had the choice to turn from it a number of times in life. And you said, hell no, Lord, like Peter said when Jesus told him to eat the food in violation of the Bible. Peter said, hell no, I'll never do that. And Jesus said, oh, wait. So am I your Lord, or are the writings of men your Lord? And Peter had to say, oh, wait, what? Is this a trick question? For the rest of you, I'm sorry that I got off on this bent. I am just so sick of Christians being duped into their right-wing beliefs and told that these are godly. My friend Eric, how are you on YouTube? Hey, Paul, it was also an add-on to the Southern strategy in the 70s, just another hook to gather and steal Southern Democrats. The evangelical church was crickets on this before then. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Eric. The Republican Party in the early 70s decided we're never going to get people of color to vote for us, so we're going to have to use racism to get votes from Southern white Christians. And they determined we will use abortion and racist dog whistles to get Southern white Christians to vote for us, to move from being Democrats to Republicans. And it worked beyond imagination. When Ronald Reagan swept the South and beat Jimmy Carter in 1919, sorry, hang on a second. It shook up the world and has been the backbone of republicanism ever since. Faux Christianity through abortion and guns and patriotism and freedom and racist dog whistles, finding ways to let whites know we think you're a little bit better than those people. That's what Christianity is in America now. I'm reporting this. Yeah. I get that from a lot of Christians. How often do you go live? I want to attend and invite others. I try to put a notice up on YouTube when I am. And I used to be able to put up a notice on TikTok, but they took that away, so I don't know. Yeah, guys, Christians report on TikTok and TikTok listens, so who knows, this live may go down any minute. When are you going to start a podcast? I have a podcast already. It's called the Post Evangelical Podcast. On YouTube. Oh, I went off there, didn't I? Yeah, Christians are trying to put together a bunch of fake. Okay, wait, let me go back. Pastor-paul.com is the website where you get all my info. And if you're interested in helping me do what I do and provide all this free content, you can subscribe at a monthly level. They're even $5.99 a month. It helps. If you post on Facebook, I'll be there. All right, my phone just died on TikTok, so I better go. Stuart, your ability to misunderstand and twist the Bible is stunning. So, so a passage that says a mother's life is more valuable than a fetus, you're going to turn into you should get killed. We should execute women who have abortions. Brilliant. Brilliant, Stewie. Brilliant. Destiny says, I want to high five you. Pastor-paul.com, guys. That's the website. Sorry, I got to plug in my phone. I mean, the things that right-wing Christianity make people say. Kathy says, I'm watching on Facebook. Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. I did post out on Facebook too. Stewie, thanks for being fodder with your silly comments. I really appreciate it. You've made it a fun live. All right, guys, I got to go. I got to get ready for my son's graduation tonight and celebrate life at a time when I am deeply, deeply lamenting that my religion has become the religion of death and destruction in the United States, that it has become a completely apostate religion. And people who I assume want to be good-hearted people like Stuart and many others I know have become really disgusting. Oh, Jamie came up block. No, actually, Jamie, I think my battery just went dead. Guys, thank you so much. Destiny, Ken, JD, Kathy, of course, my friend Jamie. I love you guys. It means a lot to me that you would be disciples and let crazy people like Stuart come on and attack and think they're doing something for God. And we just have fun and keep moving forward. Thanks, Stuart. I appreciate the like. I don't get on Facebook very often because there's too many nutballs like you on there, but yeah. All right, Ken. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys all later.